family. It's Yvette Cornell coming to you as I do every Monday and Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to give you a moment here, as I normally do as well, to do what you got to do. Put the baby to bed. Go grab yourself a snack. Go grab yourself some libations. That can be anything. People say, oh, Yvette's promoting alcohol. Please stop that. That can be anything from water to juice to a glass of wine. I give everybody an opportunity to do what they want to do and eat what they want to eat and drink what they want to drink. I am not a dictator. So take the time to do what you have to do to get yourself situated. I do that every time. So I apologize for being late. We had to do an update to our systems, and so now we are here with you. And for all of you, we always, every time, hey Rocky, hey Dee, hey Regina, we always have to do a quick little for people, because I forget there are some people who haven't been here. And so if you haven't been here before, if this is your first time, or you've just been here a couple of times and you haven't done it already, please take the time to hit the subscribe button. Please take the time to actually go on and hit the notifications button so that you get notifications from us. Please go and subscribe to the newsletter. It's $2 a month. It comes out every Sunday. Just links. It's just curation. Links that you may have missed throughout the week about what happened in the week and stuff that went down that you may not have seen because you're busy. You got stuff to do. You got a family. All the stuff that goes with not being able to check all the news feeds. That's just what it is. So that you can go to breakingbrown.com for that. You can also go to breakingbrown.com to pay a one-time donation or pay a cyclical donation as low as $3 a month, as high as $100 a month, or whatever you want to pay to support what Iremy and I are doing here in terms of political education. You can do that. Also, what you can also do, you can go to donatebrown.com and you can donate. Donatebrown.com is cool too, because you can leave a comment, and I always read the comments. Some of y'all think y'all smart. Anyway, and I appreciate everything. Also, if you already subscribe to the newsletter, please go and add editor at breakingbrown.com to your contacts list. Like I said, if you already subscribed, please add that to your contacts list. I would appreciate it. It would make everything a little easier in terms of receiving the newsletter. Also, you can go to subscribetobrown.com, which allows you to there's no cost to that, but just to be added to my mailing list, just in case anything happens. We never know. There's a lot going down. There's a lot of people getting all kicked off YouTube. Somebody tried to break into my Facebook account for like 13 times last night while I was deep in sleep. So if anything happens, I need to have your information, because somebody, if they break into your Facebook, they can just delete your whole Facebook account. And I don't know what Facebook has in place for that. So I just want to have the names of my people in one place. So if that happens, I always want to have a backup plan. I'm a tactician in how I think. I need a backup. I can't just be, I can't call and be like, Facebook, where's Cheryl at? I don't know Cheryl. And most of y'all don't know Cheryl too. A lot of y'all lie about who y'all know at Facebook. You don't know nobody at Facebook. Get somewhere and sit down. And I understand that. Now, there are some things to talk about. There are some things we have to talk about now that you all have gotten your libations and gotten yourself situated. Pat the baby on the back, make him burp. We have some things we have to talk about. We talked about Charlottesville last conversation. But since that time, in the last video, some things have changed. Some new things have happened. And one of the things I want to tell you is that from my estimation, I think Donald Trump is maybe the or one of the most honest presidents we've ever had. And you say, oh, Yvette, you're lauding him with praise. No, I'm not, because I'm not saying that any of that is going to benefit African Americans. What I'm telling you is that what I see when I see Donald Trump is probably the most truest face of much of white America that I've ever seen. That doesn't mean he doesn't lie, and I think he believes some of his lies. That doesn't mean he doesn't lie. I understand that, but what I'm telling you, when he got on TV and said what he said, I don't care. It was violence on both sides, and George Washington, do you want to take down all the monuments? Do you want? That was the truth. That's how a lot of people feel, and they just won't tell you. Liberal and conservative. That's how a lot of them feel, and they just won't say it in your face. He don't care enough. Let me just say one thing before I get started. I'm gonna frame this in a second, but before I frame this, let's help you understand that what you're seeing in Donald Trump is just somebody who refuses to lie. He's a plutocrat who refuses to lie consistently. He'll lie, but he refuses to do it. Sometimes he'll drop a bomb. And what he did in terms of coming back and said, that's right, I said it. He came back and said, that's right, I said there was violence on both sides. And, those people were enjoying their heritage. And who are you to take it from them? And, he was telling the truth. Most of the time, politicians, the presidents that we've had are too practiced to tell the truth about what they feel about this country, about what they feel about African Americans, and what they feel about our grievances. You're not getting some type of aberration from Donald Trump. You're not getting something that doesn't ever happen. I know there are a lot of people out there, liberals, limousine liberals, and dastardly conservatives. Everybody from Ted Cruz to, just everybody. Paul Ryan's like, oh, I'm so surprised. No, you're not, because that's what you think in your own house. Donald Trump is just bold enough and crazy enough and rich enough to say it. That's what capital. See, this is what we don't understand: income inequality. What income inequality has basically done is make some people immune from everything. Right. Donald Trump don't have to learn nothing. He don't have to do nothing. He don't have to believe nothing. He don't have to care about nothing, because he's rich enough that none of that stuff impacts him. And he's rich enough that nobody tells him the truth. And he's rich enough that he doesn't ever have to read a book or become engaged about anything, because nobody matters. And so when I talk about Charlottesville, I want to frame it, because people are talking about this. And you gotta, if you're watching this, please take the time to go watch some of the YouTube videos that really show you what really happened when a bunch of white supremacists go and start knocking people upside the head. And in that whole thing, nobody really gets arrested. Baltimore, Ferguson had a bunch of Negroes in jail. But when these white supremacists show up weaponized, nobody goes to jail. And people say, well, the other group had weapons too. They needed them. They were up against Nazis and white supremacists. What were they gonna have? You can't go over there with peace and love. You got to be prepared to defend yourself. We're not talking about violence. We're talking about self-defense. But specifically, y'all keep taking me on a tangent. I blame everybody in the comment section. This is what we're talking about. What we're talking about specifically is Charlottesville. And what I want to bring your attention to as I frame this conversation is that this conversation that we're having about Charlottesville, this is not about mean racists. This is not about people being mean to us, people talking bad about us, people, they don't like black people. This is about generational wealth and generational poverty. And generational wealth built generational poverty. This is about what we talked about a lot on this show, that the black people, the African Americans who built this country, are the poorest people in this country. And none of that makes sense. So what I wanted to take it back to, as we discuss Charlottesville, I want to take it back to an article that Irene sent me earlier today that really sort of, breaks it down, that this isn't about some hateful people that showed up. This is about theft. This is about theft. This is about black people not only having their labor stolen, having their homes, property, communities, whole neighborhoods stolen throughout history. This isn't something that just happened in the 1800s or the 1900s or the 1700s. From the entire time that we've been here, everything that we have has been stolen from us. So what that means is that you don't have any political power. I don't have any political power. We lack agency because this country is built on wealth. And the wealth that we had was stolen. So we have to talk a little bit about how that happened, and that will lead us to understand what makes sense in terms of black life and what doesn't make sense at all. So we have to understand that.
Put it up.
We have to understand that. There was a great article about this, and I'm going to just put it up so you can. Some of you, if you're on a laptop, you watch on your laptop or whatever, you can Google this right now, and you can kind of go through it as I'm having the conversation. But the title was, in 1965, the city of Charlottesville demolished a thriving black neighborhood. It's funny when I see that, because I heard somebody tell me, well, why are immigrants doing so much better than us? Well, because nobody destroyed their neighborhoods. We've been doing good for a long time. The problem is when we start doing good, racists come in and tear it all down. And nobody is there to protect us and our property. Yes. Nobody is there to say, you can't do this. These people are citizens and I'm a police officer. I'm here to protect these people. This is what we're experiencing now. And our political life is about not having agency. And we don't have agency in political for a couple of reasons, but one of which is because everything that we amass is stolen. And if you start to make this about hearts and minds, or about how, we gotta get people to feel this way. As African Americans, we have to stop people from hating. If you make it about that, racists win and we lose. If you make this about, there were a bunch of articles yesterday, and we're gonna get into this. There were a bunch of articles yesterday about George Washington. And how George Washington should never be mentioned in a conversation about General Lee. Says who? We gotta stop buying into this. But
George Washington, the father of our country?
The slave owner.
You mean the father of our country?
Whose father? I mean, you have to,
He was one of the greatest Americans, right?
No, he wasn't. How do you, and we're going to get into this, but you cannot own a human person, multiple human beings, and deny them of their rights. And then you have people like Lawrence O'Donnell and other people all over the internet, but he was a good, he shouldn't be mentioned with General Lee. He was a dog. He owned us, and not only owned us, owned the wealth that come from the slaves that he had. Now think about what that was. There was articles that said, when we talked about slavery by another name, one slave like 200,000 or some joke like that. Think about how rich that made George Washington. And at that time, you had to either be a slave owner or been to slave owners because they had all the wealth. You got a lot of wealth when you got a bunch of free people working for you. Think about what you could do if you had 300 people working for you right now for free. They couldn't leave, couldn't do nothing. You tell them, go over there and kick him in the teeth. And they got to do it.
Well, YouTube is actually popping off tonight. Well, it turns out it's not like George Washington amassed slaves. He just inherited these slaves, right?
Just inherited slaves.
No. He inherited 11 and died with 300. So he liked it. He liked it.
From his wife.
He inherited
them from his wife.
This is nice.
And he had been doing this. He had his first slave at 11. Imagine being taught from the age of 11 how to tell an MF what to do and how to do it. You get over there and you stack them bales of hay. As a boy, imagine what it's like to be a grown black woman or a grown black man to have to take orders from a boy. That's our life. No value for that labor.
Apparently he died chasing runaway slaves.
Died chasing. And we're going to get into that. But I want to talk about Charlottesville real quick. We're going to talk about Charlottesville. Goddammit. We're going to talk about Charlottesville real quick. Because I want to let's give some background. Because a lot of people be like, well, black people should have did this and black people should have did that. Well, if we built our own, we built our own. Listen, we did.
We did.
You can't but let me tell you something about building wealth. A lot of people like to talk about building wealth. You can't build wealth running. And the thing that's happened in this country is that racists have kept us running. For as long as African Americans have been in this country, racists have made us run. Run from here to there, here to there, here to there. You're going to steal our land, run us out. That's what that was about. So let me just say, let's put up clip number, is it clip number 2? I put clip 2. Let me show you what this black town looked like.
Okay, yeah, that's up.
Charlottesville. That's what it looked like. Now they had 30 black owned businesses, 139 family homes. And this is an article from Timeline. If you want to look it up, Timeline, and you put in Charlottesville black community, it'll come up. You had 30 black-owned businesses, 139 family homes, a church, and black people began settling here after the Civil War. And let me tell you how good this land was they had. That's the land right now that's near the University of Virginia, and it's also downtown shopping district. They had all this land. They were building up their own community. And guess what the racists did? Came in and was like, you know what? We need some urban renewal.
Yes.
We need some urban renewal up in here. We're going to put some shops and some stores and some different things here. And y'all got to move.
You got to go.
I got to leave my house. Yeah, you got to move. Well, can I have a vote on this? No, you can't have a vote. You know why? You can't have a vote because we're going to put a poll tax. And you can't pay the poll tax. So you don't even get to vote on the demolition of your own property. That's what they did. That's what they did to us. And let me tell you something. that block, the government allowed them then, said that, well, the government said, well, that's because there's a law, there's a federal law. If you displace people like that, they can have public housing. Hold on. So you go from living in a home that you own, that you bought, to public housing.
Because the university wanted it.
Because they wanted it. And
That's
they really
it.
didn't they wanted you out of it. Right? And then these racists come around and be like, see, all these black people live in the ghetto because they don't work hard. No, we bought homes and you put us in the ghetto. That's what you did. And now you get on TV and you start fights and do all that kind of stuff. Listen, I just really, I just want people to understand what it means to go from living in a house to a unit in public housing. And how that's not the equivalent. Most black people have their wealth in homes. And these people stole our homes. No punishment, no repercussions, no consequences. Half of that stuff is still being passed down today. The stuff that was stolen from us is still being passed down today. They still have it. They still own it. They still reap the rewards from it. And there was and that's something that we have to understand. And that's something we have to understand in terms of understanding what this white supremacist march is and what it looks like and what it means in terms of where we have to go. We have to understand how we got here. And we didn't get here by being lackadaisical, know-nothing Negroes. We got here because we're the minorities in this country and the majority kept stealing our stuff. Every time we built it up, you can't even walk down the street that with the Ta-Nehisi Coates piece about reparations. It was a great article about this man or boy walking down the street with a mule, and the white man just took his mule. He don't care. He don't care. He just took it. That's the way life was and is. There's nothing that you have that they can't take. And put up that clip number 3, Aaron. Before you start to think that this is something that just happened here and there. I'm sure I got some trolls watching. Love you, trolls. You're idiots, but I love you.
I mean, this happened right in Athens. Right here.
It happened right here.
Right here in Athens. Urban renewal.
The
white people want their stuff.
They want it back. I don't want to pay for it, though. This happened to 800 black communities by 1962. 18 black neighborhoods. 800. 800 black neighborhoods were displaced. Neighborhoods, not just one house. 800 black neighborhoods displaced by people just coming in and saying, I want that. Now, we're not talking about reparations in terms of just slavery, but just about everything that was stolen. And that's the reason why you have white supremacists who feel they can march, because they know we don't have any money, we don't have any power, we don't have anything to do anything. And when you look at that Black Star article, 8 heartbreaking cases where land was stolen from black Americans through racism, violence, and murder. I want you to understand what these people are saying. Stolen through racism, violence, and murder. That's what happened to us. That's our life. Go look that up. I'm not going to go through it right now because I'm running behind. But go look that up. They were taking everything. They didn't care. We got movies about it. Yeah. There was nothing that you could own.
I mean, that's
if a white person wanted more than you.
That's the job of domestic terrorism. That's the job. To scare you away from keeping your stuff.
To scare you away from keeping your stuff and to keep you running.
Yes.
Listen. The Great Migration, 6 million African Americans and blacks, right, had to leave the South due to racial terrorism. Please don't believe these people who are telling you that the ACLU ought to be ashamed, telling us that this is about freedom of speech. This is about the First Amendment. These are terrorist groups. Like I said in the previous show, you would never allow Al-Qaeda to show up in your neighborhood. You would never allow ISIS to show up in your neighborhood with a black flag. You would never allow that. But you want these people to show up. Look at the Great Migration. Send us running again. Who you think took that land after these people ran away? Because they had to run away because they were hanging people left and right. And they were looking for work. Who do you think took that? That white people was just like, well, great. We got the house, we got the land, whatever. And they had to leave.
I don't know why they just up and left.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Ooh, cheap land though. I'll take that.
They were just too lazy to work. And these are your ancestors. Like, I want to get this through to you. This is who you fighting for, and you have a responsibility to fight for those people who came before you. That's your job. You don't get to sit around and have these armchair conversations. That's not your role in this country.
I feel bad because my mom left South Carolina in the Great Migration, and now and moved to California, raised me in California. Now I'm priced out in California. I moved back.
Let me tell you something.
The
easiest way to destroy a community is to just keep it scattered and running. Just keep them running. As long as they can keep us running, you're going to keep us scattered and crazed, and we can't put down roots and organize. Listen, you got white people in communities that can say, I have been in this community for 7 generations, for 6 generations. You can't say that for us because they have us running. And that's what it means to have social capital. Your people been here, and we still here. My granddaddy was the sheriff. My great uncle was the dog catcher, and my cousin owns a grocery store. That's what it means to have social capital in your community. But you cannot have that if these people keep you running. And that's what they have done to us all of our lives. And I hear some of you saying, well, Yvette, I'm going to go overseas. I used to explore that for myself sometimes too. But it was basically just like me venting my frustrations with America. But listen, what you gonna do if you run to another country? You don't have any tentacles there. You don't have anything there. You don't have anybody there. You don't have any family there. You don't know the court system there, and you're an immigrant. You know who gets attacked first when stuff goes down? Immigrants. That's who gets it, and that's what you're putting yourself up for. So we have to stop believing that the solution to what we're facing in America is running. Garvey talked about running to Africa. It ain't gonna work. Nobody wants a bunch of African American immigrants, especially who don't have $1 million so they can just input into the economy. We don't have it. We're just gonna become a burden on their economy. We don't have it. You have to decide to fight here. The war is here. And let me tell you something. The Great Migration isn't something that just happened. It's still happening. Ira, you got that clip? Ready?
I get the Detroit clip?
Yep.
Yeah, that's ready.
Detroit, in terms of foreclosures, they are illegally foreclosing on Detroit residents' homes as we speak. And nobody is doing anything. So let's just play that real quick, so people can see.
From 2011 to 2015, the Wayne County Treasurer foreclosed upon approximately 1 in 4 Detroit properties for non-payment of property taxes. Once the properties were foreclosed, many were left vacant. Many were vandalized and stripped of everything of value. These derelict properties lowered property values and caused anyone who could get out to flee. The property tax foreclosure crisis in Detroit has wiped out entire neighborhoods of Detroit's most vulnerable residents. Poor and working class black families have borne the brunt of this crisis, and it should not have happened. According to the Michigan Constitution, no property should be assessed at more than 50% of its market value. It turns out, the city government systematically inflated the property tax assessments of homes in Detroit beyond this legal limit. In fact, between 2009 and 2015, 55 to 85% of Detroit properties were unconstitutionally assessed each year. This led to illegally inflated taxes on those properties. Why? Because in 2008, home values in Detroit plummeted as a result of the Great Recession. But instead of reducing property tax assessments to match the lower value of homes, the government robotically copied the previous rates, making only minor adjustments. It was no surprise that residents weren't able to pay. And here's the kicker. Many families were not supposed to be paying property taxes in the first place because they qualify for the Michigan poverty tax exemption. But Detroit didn't publicize this and made the application process so difficult that it was nearly impossible to complete. So when we look at the decimation that unconstitutional property tax assessments have left behind, who is to blame? working in poor people who are struggling to provide a home for their families? Or the government, who systematically and illegally inflated the assessed values of homes to increase their property tax revenue, then seized homes from families when they could not afford to pay? Join our fight to end unconstitutional tax foreclosures in Detroit.
Now, y'all do understand that all this stuff that happened and was set up under your first black president, right? That was the black president y'all were retweeting. Oh, we want Obama back. Obama's so wonderful. The foundation and the beginnings of all this stuff happened under your first black president. I just want to tell you that. I just want to remind you of that. Well, y'all gave him like one of the third or fourth most retweeted tweets in the history of Twitter. I want you to remind you that if you retweeted that, you're stupid. Because Obama don't like you. He don't like me. He never had an affinity for African Americans. This man is an internationalist and he always has been. But I'm going to get to him in 1 second. The one thing I want to say is that this isn't just happening in Detroit. It happens through gentrification. Remember this? What was the book? The Warmth of Other Suns or whatever. There's a lot of books that go into this. I'm reading right now. Yvette comments. I'm reading right now this book.
And it's hilarious.
I'm reading right now this book. This is a black communist in the freedom struggle. Listen, you got to get beyond whatever your ideology is and just read black people who were trying to do good stuff and were working hard for the black community and see what they said. And one of the things he recounts is how his daddy came in one day. He had gotten beaten by an Irish mob. These Irish teenagers were apparently really bad thugs. And they would run black people out of the neighborhood. And the dad was like, we got to move right now. We can't wait. I got beat up and almost killed. We got to move right now. The mama was somewhere away, and he said, we're going to set everything up. We're going to call for your mama, but we finna move. And they only got pennies on the dollar on their house. That's how these people operate. Not only just being white as an Irish, you got to ask how many of these Irish people just took black people's homes and just ran them out of town.
You never hear it the other way around, though, do you?
We don't run nobody. We tried, though. The new Negro who came back from the war, which is in this book as well, they tried. But like they use all their tacticians and all that stuff to really put that. But these people, man, I mean, so what I want to say is that, people talk about Black Lives Matter. Theft matters too. Yeah. Theft matters too.
Real quickly, before we forget about the Detroit video.
Yes.
They tried to do something similar in California, right? But in California in the 70s, they had a lot of white people, and what they did was they said, no, we're not leaving our house. They got together, passed a proposition, Proposition 13, froze property taxes. And they said, look, if you want to raise money, you got to raise it from the new people because we're not paying nothing.
Yeah, we're not doing it. We ain't paying it. We're going to keep our homes, and we're going to change the laws to keep our homes.
And now those houses are worth like $1 million, pay itty bitty property taxes.
Yeah. But we can't do that. They use that to move us out. We can't start a law that says we get to keep our homes. No, that's the whole purpose, Negro, of us doing this is for you to lose your house. That's the inequity of it all. That's what America is right now. That's what America has been. And I hear Tea Party say, I want to take my country back. No, I want to take the country I never had. You had this whole time. What do you mean take it back? From who? That only matters if you're talking about somebody who maybe is here illegally. You're not talking about me. Because my people made it possible for you to have your way of life. You don't have anything to say to me. You don't have any conversation to have with me. So let me just say, we have to talk a little bit about all these people saying that basically, well, Yvette, I saw all these people and these wonderful, how dare Trump compare George Washington to General Lee? Who does he think he is? He doesn't understand that Lee fought for the Confederacy and George Washington was the first president of our country. George Washington owned over 300 slaves. You know what that means? He could not have been president without owning those slaves.
It means his people owe us a cut.
He got them and he inherited them from Martha. Right? A lot of them, not all of them. He inherited most of them from Martha. You had to have slaves because slaves were wealth. You either had to have slaves or you had to be moved by slave owners. That's what you had to do. You were either influenced and you had to do what slave owners wanted to do, or you had to have slaves. That's how it worked. Because that's who had the money. And American politics has always been corrupt. So that's what he had to do. So don't tell me, some of you are telling me, yeah, you can't compare the two. How? Stop thinking about life from other people's perspectives. If you're a black person and somebody owned 300 slaves that allowed them to become president, how is that person any different to you than the person who fought for the Confederacy? And he was military, General Lee. This man was the first president. He could have said as the first president, we ain't doing this slavery stuff. I don't want it. I'm the first president and I don't like it. But he didn't. He allowed it to go on. He owned his own. He wanted the wealth from it. That's who he was. You can't go around saying that this man wasn't nothing but evil. How? You can't go around saying, well, he wasn't the same as General Lee based on you because you're white. There is no black person who should say that there's any difference between Lee and Washington. There is no difference.
I found a black person who said there's a difference between Lee and Washington.
Who?
Would you believe I found it?
Put him on.
Right.
Put him on. Put him on.
All right.
Robert E. Lee should not be in the same sentence as George Washington. He can't distinguish between Nazis with torches saying anti-Jewish, anti-black stuff who went there chanting things that people died by the millions in the last century over. He can't distinguish between them and the people who went there to try and defend people from those thugs.
Yeah, I keep wondering, Van, I mean, he's surrounded by military people. H.R. McMaster, who's had an incredible career in the U.S. Army. The U.S. Army fought the Nazis in Europe. Kelly, who was a Marine. I mean, most Marines were in the Pacific Theater, but there were Marines fighting against the Nazis in Europe as well. I mean, what did these people who are surrounding him think? Ivanka Trump, for me, Jared Kushner, what are they thinking?
I don't know, but I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about my godmother, Dottie Zollner, who's Jewish. I think about what she's gone through in her life, sticking up for civil rights, the stories that she's told me about her family and the things that her family suffered in Europe, and the fact that she can't count on the president of the United States to stand with her when a Nazi ran over an American citizen, killed an American citizen with ISIS tactics in our country. And my godmother can't come on the television and see the president of the United States show any sympathy for her, the father of a Jewish daughter. I mean, this is not funny. It's not cute. It's not a soundbite war. At a certain point, you have a lot of people now. It's not just the people you're emboldening. It's the people you're abandoning who now don't know if they have a government that gives a damn about them. Those are the people you have to worry about, too, because we're spiraling away from each other. We're spiraling away from each other. Robert,
I don't know. Oh my God, I'm so sad of me. I gotta choose grandma and she gonna do this. Listen, Van Jones don't represent us. We don't need these weak people. What are you all doing?
Van Jones doesn't even represent his own grandma.
He don't even represent his own grandmama. This brown-skinned black man is like my Jewish godmama. What about your grandparents? Your great-grandparents? You look like a brown-skinned black man to me. Who are your people? When you crying about the Holocaust, I have sympathy for the Holocaust and everything they went through. I am not anti-Semitic, but when are we going to have black people that represent black people? God damn. And you know what? That's why you're on CNN, Van, because you never represent us. You never represent us, you sniveling, cowardly little man. All you do is get on TV. This is about the third time I seen you cry.
Yeah, no, right?
Dang! How many tears this Negro got? Just salt water all the time. Listen, this is not what we need. We don't need Van Jones. We don't need that.
Yes, MSNBC calls Yvette. Yvette, we want you to do a 5-minute segment on Charlottesville and what you think about, what's going on with the white nationalists. Instead of crying, you would say...
Let me tell you the problem. Let me tell you the problem. The problem is what we don't got. The problem is the problem is that African Americans were never made whole after slavery. We were never given the corrective action the corrective policies that made us whole in terms of finances, because this is the richest country in the world. We built it and we have nothing. And so we have no agency to fight white supremacists, and that's the real issue. We need to fix that. I'm not crying in front of no people on CNN. I don't need you to feel better. I don't need you to like me. That's the thing. I don't need you to like me. Just do what we need to do. I don't need you to, I don't value whether or not, I don't value how you feel about me. I get no kind of inner peace or anything based on how you feel about Yvette Carnell. My community just needs the stuff that we were promised and we never got. So now we can't be competitive in the richest country in the world because y'all stole everything. That's what I need to be made right. Why are you going on TV crying, Van? It don't make no sense.
Well, the purpose of the KKK is to distract us from our claim. The KKK emerged out of Reconstruction because black people were actually getting political and economic power. So the KKK was like, no, we don't want that anymore. And it worked. As far as I'm concerned, the South won the political war.
Yeah, they did.
As soon as they killed Reconstruction, they won.
They won. They took it. They took everything.
Right.
They took everything, and people want that the Union won. No, the federal government left us there with racist. That's not winning for black people. That's not what winning looks like. And the thing is, this is why, and I'm not trying to toot my horn, Ivy's horn, but this is why you need independent black people. Because if you don't have independent black people who grew up in the black community, who get their donations and their money from black people, what you get is Van Jones. What you get is somebody who wants to go on TV and show another community that I stand with you. They don't want to. They don't have the freedom to say, I stand alone as a representative of my community, and I don't need anything from you because the food on my plate comes from black people. So you cannot scare me. You cannot push me back into my house. I don't fear being impoverished because black people feed me with donations every day. I have an offering every day from the black church, from black people, I have an offering every day. I'm good. And I'm going to tell you the truth because I'm good. He don't have that. So Van Jones is trying to make himself that. We don't have anybody. You talk about Charles Blow. Charles Blow is the same way. Like, he may say better stuff than Van Jones, but he still sounds like he's on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and he's there because he got chosen by the New York Times. That's not good enough. This is an opportunity when you get before white people in this space on mainstream media. This is an opportunity to tell them what the business is. This is an opportunity to give them a call to action. Tell them what they need to support. Tell them what our black agenda is. Don't nobody want to see your grown self crying.
No black person wants to see you crying.
I don't even think white people want to see you. I mean, white people will be like, oh, that's so sad. We got to be nicer to the black people.
I want my cut. Nope.
We got to be so nice to them. And nice don't feed us. Nice don't make up for what happened to us. I don't care if you're nice to me. You can never like me, never talk to me again, but make me whole.
And make it out the cash.
Make it out the cash. And make it consistent for a number of years. Because let me tell you something. I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again because it deserves saying again. It takes a longer time to heal a wound than inflict a wound. Let me say that again. It takes much longer to heal a wound than to inflict a wound. Slavery, redlining, Jim Crow, 400 plus years. And we still ain't free. So you got to give me longer than 400 years to make me free. You can't give me a few years of affirmative action and all that kind of... That's a joke. That is a joke. You have to give me everything for longer than that. Oh, that's just not the way it's going to happen. So... And going back to George Washington, it's a very interesting story. There was a woman named Oney Judge who was a slave at George Washington's home. And to show you what kind of person, well, you can't compare George Washington to General Lee. He's not the same thing. He stalked this woman. She was a mixed race slave who, while they were packing up to go somewhere, she just walked away. She walked away from how she had help from the free slaves in the neighborhood who helped her. The free people in the neighborhood who helped her abscond to somewhere else. Well, George Washington kept looking for her for years. Like, even after he left the White House, he was looking for her. He stalked this woman for years. This is who people are liking and saying he's not the same as General Lee. He's problematic, but he's not the same. No, he's the same to us. You got to stop looking through everything through the lens of MSNBC. Or CNN, or Anderson Cooper, or anybody else. These people don't matter. This wealth was stolen from her. And she said she didn't become a free person until after she had left. And she said a thirst for complete freedom had been the only motive for her absconding. That's what Joseph Whipple sent in a letter to Oliver Wolcott in describing her. And the only reason Watson really didn't take her is because he was afraid that if he had used the Fugitive Slave Act, it would have repercussions. But he spent years trying to get this woman back into slavery after she left. It makes you wonder what he needed her for, because he didn't need her financially. He had a lot of other slaves. What were you doing? What were you doing with her? I'm just asking the question. So, and she went after she learned that she wouldn't be freed. They told her, there were slaves free after Martha's death, but they told her she was going to be given to somebody else. And she was like, oh no, I'm leaving. And she left and she got stalked. And so what I'm saying to you is that we're in a battle right now. And there are a lot of people in mainstream news who don't represent us and who were never paid to represent us, who are speaking on our behalf but are doing it in a way that's just detrimental to who we are. And this is about generational wealth. I'll say it again. This is about generational wealth and generational poverty. This isn't about how people feel and what people's hearts and minds are. This is about we should be richer than them because we put more in terms of labor. We should be the elite, not just equal. There's a lot of conversations about we should be equal. No, we should be better. What do you mean? How do you build a country and then say we should be the same as other people? No, I should be someone sipping lemonade, and so should you. There shouldn't be a black person in this country that's not worth at least $700,000 based on what we contributed to this country by free labor. And so what I want to get to in terms, we spoke about Obama a second ago, but put up clip number 6, Aaron. I want to talk about, before we go to the phones, I want to talk about your boy. I want to talk about your boy Obama. And I want to talk about how this dude did something that was so despicable, but y'all retweeted him. And y'all was like, we want him back. We miss Obama. Like he doesn't despise you just as much as most white supremacists do. First of all, and you can put it up, Aaron. First of all, he issued a tweet. And this tweet was a Nelson Mandela quote. First of all, it's kind of disrespectful. Because you didn't even sit down and think about a quote that fit the moment. You just quoted somebody else so you can move on. But there's a second part of it. He says, no one is born hating another person because of the color of their skin or the background or religion. This isn't about hate so much as it's about generational poverty. You don't even know what you're talking about. So the question, but what should I expect? What should I expect? Obama is an internationalist. He's never been anchored in the African American community. He's never been anchored in our struggle. You talk about, well, he's with Michelle. Michelle was the first black woman he ever dated. I said it. He didn't want to do, he did that for political calculation. Read Rising Star about Barack Obama. He did that for political calculation. When he decided he wanted to run for office, all of a sudden he decided that Michelle was a good look. And he cheated on her with his previous girlfriend who was white and Asian, whatever. He was never into us as a people, never into women, nothing. It's not about, I'm talking consistently like I don't want to date him. Not like, well, I date everybody. I date black, I love, no, I don't do that. That's not what I do. In Punahou, look up his education and where it came from. He talked about, I was opposed to South to apartheid. There's no record of him being opposed to all that stuff. He's lying. And so now he's giving us a quote from Nelson Mandela. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you why this is despicable to me. There is, when you look at the comparison, you can't compare. My heart goes out to everybody who suffered under apartheid. But apartheid lasted, 50 years? And it was not chattel slavery. We have had 400 plus years of dealing with this in this country. 400 plus years of chattel slavery, chains used to build what became the richest country in the world. That's not the same as 50 years of apartheid. That's the kind of thing you think when you think all black people are like and all black people have suffered, so that's the only thing that matters. Yes, but not the same. It's not the equivalent. And in this country, we are a minority. They are the majority. In South Africa, they are the majority. You are the majority. That's different than what we've experienced here. So how are you using a Nelson Mandela quote that does not fit? It does not fit our situation. The only thing it shows is that you are a lazy man. You didn't even put forth the effort to come up with your own quote. I don't think you were ever as smart as people made you out to be. It doesn't mean George Bush wasn't smart either. You were never that person. So the only thing that I want to say is that you all, African Americans, embarrass me. If you all retweeted this nonsense. If you retweeted this, I am embarrassed that you did this. I am embarrassed that you did this. This is not South Africa. Put up clip number 7. Just so you can see it. I want you to just see it. We have 400 years of chattel slavery in this country. And you all are walking around acting like that's the same thing as 50 years of apartheid or whatever it was. That's how long it lasted. We're not the same. One thing we have to get right. Listen, before we do anything in this country, we have to understand our tribe. For the most part, our tribe is African Americans. Our oppression has been hundreds of years, not 50 years, and we are not the majority. We cannot apply the same kind of pressure, the same kind of practice, the same kind of tactics as people in South Africa because they are the majority. We are not them. They are not us. And they are not right now in the richest country in the world. They did not build the richest country in the world. We did. There is a source of pride and there is ownership that comes in that. And we have to take what's ours. And Barack Obama does not understand any of that because he has never been a part of our community. He has never been anchored in our community. And I would never retweet that garbage that he tweeted out. I would never do it. So, I don't expect any more of him than that, though. I don't expect him to be any more. But I think it's time for us to turn the page and turn our backs on Barack Obama. I think it's time for people to say, well, Yvette, why you keep talking about Obama? Why y'all keep retweeting him? Why don't you just ignore him? And when somebody retweets him, why don't you tell him, listen, he's not, that's wrong what he did. It don't make no sense. And let me tell you something else. When you go back over there, I'm put up clip number 8. I want to share something with you about why you should feel the way that I feel. Why you should feel the way that I feel about Obama. Now, these Nazis and racists came over there. And go look at the YouTube videos. They were beating people and doing all kind of other stuff. They were doing all kind of awful things to people. I heard they had caches of weapons hidden around. Racist. Obama came out with a quote about Nelson Mandela about not hating other people. Now, when black people did that, when black people protested for something real, you know what Obama called us? He called us thugs. When people in Baltimore protested because Freddie Gray's back got broke on the way to the precinct. This is a man who had been lead poisoned in his own home when he was a kid. When his back got broke on the way to the precinct, when black people protested and some stuff got destroyed, property damage, he called us thugs. We were protesting on something real. We were protesting about something that really happened. Somebody that was really injured. We weren't protesting in favor of racism or in favor of white people getting hurt or killed. But these Nazis that come in, and Obama can only give you a quote. He can only give you a Mandela quote. But when we were protesting, he called us thugs. He called us thugs. Freddie Gray's back got broke in the back of a paddy wagon and he died. And Marilyn Mosby came out after that and showed us just how corrupt the Baltimore Police Department is. She laid it out during her press conference about just how corrupt that police department is. But we're thugs, right? When Henry Louis Gates got arrested, Harvard professor got arrested in his own house, right? What did Obama do? He said, well, the police officer acted stupidly. But when the police said, Obama, you better get your stuff together, he said, I'm going to invite everybody to a beer conference, to a beer summit.
I'm sorry, here's an invitation to the White House.
I apologize. But we're thugs, right? You can't. How come you didn't call those Nazis thugs? How come you didn't call those white supremacist thugs? Why couldn't you do that, Obama? This man is useless. He is detrimental, actually. He's worse than useless.
No.
But stop retweeting what he tweets and do not give him any validity. He is horrible.
He teaches black people how not to fight. Oh, that they shouldn't fight.
Say it again.
He teaches black people that they shouldn't fight.
Yeah.
And that's like not the politics we need right now.
Yeah, he teaches you that you should just, do what he did. I mean, you should just, I don't know, you should just, take your, but he never had to take any lumps.
Yeah, the thing is, unfortunately, and I think we're going to find out, the people who try to do what he did and follow his path, it's not going to work. No. Obama's the kind of guy who burned the path as he blazed it. This is why all those Democrats lost over his 8 years. He lost 1,000 seats.
He lost so many seats.
1,000 seats. That means and
explain what you mean, like local and stuff like that.
Yeah, local congressional elections. Democrats lost 1,000 legislative seats, 13 governorships. This is why we're under Republican rule right now, because Obama wasn't good at anything except electing Obama.
Yeah, and Obama only loved Obama. Let's be honest. Yeah. Obama loved Obama. Obama just loves Obama. He's a narcissist. He's not as bad a narcissist as Trump, but he's a narcissist. He loves
everyone
himself.
paid for this. Everyone pays for this. Had he endorsed someone else besides Hillary Clinton, we have a different president.
Yep.
Everyone pays for Obama's...
And even if that president lost, we have a different politics.
Right. We'd have a different politics. Yeah, everyone... Obama cared about himself. And it hurt the party, it hurt our politics. And if you try to do what Obama did, you might squeak by, but most likely, you'll be like everybody else who tried to follow Obama, and it doesn't work out for you.
Yeah, and that's all Obama wanted, though, was to scuba dive with Richard Branson and stuff. He never wanted anything more than that. He's a simpleton. You all think that Obama's some type of brilliant guy. He's not. He's never been that guy. He's always wanted, most of all, to ingratiate himself to a certain class of people.
That's good. Hey, look, Tommy Curry, in his book, he goes into this about look, we look at these black bourgeois class, the class of leaders or collaborators, or however you want to talk to them. You have to understand, they're just house Negroes. Malcolm knew this. They're just house Negroes. Yep. Their job is to ingratiate themselves to the master, and they hate the field Negroes.
And as an alert, I know we haven't gotten to the Booker T. Washington book, but people the news just keeps coming. But we're going to do an interview with Tommy Curry. Not long from now. I just got to read the book. I'm finishing up this book right now. The Man Not. So we're going to do an interview for Dr. Tommy Curry. So be looking for that, because I really want to talk to him, and he has come under attack. In a lot of different, he's come under attack from a lot of different people. It's not just white people. So I think, I think it's going to be great to have him on, and great to have this conversation. That's going to be coming up. I've talked to him about it, so we're going to have that conversation. So just so you all can keep that up, FYI. So, Iron, you ready to go to the phone?
Yeah, we can do this. Hold on.
Go to the telling you, boy. Woo-wee. People crazy.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Antonio. I'm gonna talk a little fast because I want to get through about 5 points real quick. I appreciate everybody watching my video. It's up to 177,000 views. We need a voice. We need a voice out there that's not Van Jones crying, that lays it out for these white supremacists about what slavery was, because so many of them believe in the white Irish slavery. You know what I mean, Yvette?
Yeah.
Yeah, they believe that white people were slaves to what are you guys talking about, and it was a long time ago. And if you look in the comments of that video, you'll see some of the vitriol that comes out, some of the racial animus, and I end up having to do a reply. I want to say, let's go back to the words that Obama chose to use from Mandela. And for those people that haven't traveled to South Africa, you don't really understand Mandela and the confused relationship he really had with South African people, because they didn't really agree with his approach to white South Africans. So even with him, he had a contentious relationship. And I think that, we got to look at this word. No one is born hating. Well, they're born owning. So, what you deal with is that doesn't apply in a system built out of slavery, where coming out of the womb, one baby owned the other baby. And I think for a lot of us, we don't understand that was a horrible quote from a horrible set of politics. the reality is that when you think about like Washington and Lee, you think about it like they happened at the same time. They didn't happen at the same time. They were 100 years apart.
Yep.
100 years of slavery apart.
Yep.
And people didn't live 100 years at that time.
No.
You might have a slave live to 35 or 40. We're talking 3 generations of slave ownership that these people lived apart. You know, Lee owned around 60-something slaves. George Washington owned 317. I believe the largest in his state. And so, like, what starts to happen is that we start to think we want reparations, but we want to be paid in dollars that have George Washington's face on them. Just think about what I'm saying. You want reparations, but you want it in dollar bills with the slave owner on the front. You have to challenge the whole institution if you're really talking about repairing, reparations. The interesting part about Trump's quote, and you know, my video, Newsmax, thank you for putting it up in Huffington Post, is, but I talked about this, is that Trump accidentally brought up a key question, which is how far does this go? And it goes to the bottom. Well, who's next? George Washington? Possibly. And the reality is that I think for a lot of us, we don't understand. And this is what I want. I'll end at this. I do want to share this. This is I read something from a Virginia encyclopedia on my video, but I didn't read the next section. And the next section is the section that will take you to the bottom. Understand this is what these slaves were going through on the University of Virginia campus. Students, nevertheless, tended to treat the University of Virginia's slaves poorly at the time, even attacking them. When the slaves were freed in 1865, the faculty was not inclined to even help them. That's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with an institution that oppressed these people and kept foot to neck for 100, 200, 300 years into your own life. And a set of politics where when you can't even call into a show and say your first name is not going to get you nowhere. A set of politics where you rely on Antonio and Yvette to put themselves up front, and then if something happens, I want a piece too, doesn't go get you that far. I'm telling you now, those white supremacists, they didn't care who saw them or what saw them. And I'm not saying to lose your job, but I'm saying to you that right now you're under fight. They're trying to take away your vote, your kids' college education, your kids' culinary education, any kind of welfare state, and you just ask the questions after they take it if you want to. So I'm just going to say that, no access without black politics. I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Antonio. Thanks, Tone Talks. Y'all can go to Tone Talks and subscribe to Antonio Moore's channel. That's Tone Talks on YouTube. But yeah, like, that's just the truth. Like, you can't call it, like, a lot of y'all feel like y'all can be apolitical, but then get the stuff that political people get. And ain't nobody ask you when you call in to say your whole name. Like, you can't say your first name, but you think you can fight white supremacists. Like, just your first name.
No, that means the KKK won.
Yeah, that means the KKK won. That's what it means. That means that these white supremacists have won. They got it.
Their whole job was to scare you out of making a claim.
And they scared you.
And you can't say your name. You don't even have your name anymore.
Yeah,
might as well call you Toby. Just call in. If you don't want to say your name, just say your name's Toby.
Yeah, because, just if you don't want to say your name when you call in, say Toby. Just say Toby. My name Toby. Goddamn. Just say that. If you think if you scared enough think somebody's following you on my YouTube to figure out what you said, and you so scared, because that's not the place that we're at. These white supremacists ain't scared. And let me tell you something, we gotta be willing to support people who get in trouble for anything. Like, something like, well, they fired me because they heard me on Yvette's show. What? But that's not what's happened. These people ain't paying attention. These people ain't even paying attention to they don't even know who I am. But you scared to even say your name. And not just because of your employer. A lot of y'all are scared because y'all friends and relatives, somebody might hear you. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. So let's go to the next call. Thanks, Antonio.
Hey, Yvette.
Hey, how you doing? What you calling from? What's your name?
All right. Calling from Texas. My name is James.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that the white girl gets to be the new face of civil rights now.
Oh, yeah.
Because of what's going on. And I sit there and told my cousin the other day, all they hollered out was Jews this and Jews that. I didn't hear nothing about black folks. The second part is that every time somebody lights a torch, it doesn't mean that they're, burning torches like for the KKK. And I think if we would have stood up, like the white boys stood up, maybe we would have affirmative action. Maybe we would have some of the stuff that, we've lost. But like you said, we're so quick to get in there with them and go cry at their feet on TV for them. We're never going to accomplish anything like that.
Thank you, Carl. I appreciate you calling in. Listen, what I want to say is a few things. I know, they do want to name a park after her already.
Really? She gets a park?
Yeah, she get a park.
Man.
They say they want to call it her name, and my heart goes out to her. Got ran over by white supremacists, but yeah.
About that, Tommy Curry famously got in trouble by saying, if we look at the history of American race relations, before black people get progress, it might be the case that a few white people have to die. Now,
self-defense.
Well, here's the deal.
It's racist. It's not just regular white people. It's racist.
Tommy Curry didn't say that we were going to be the ones who killed him.
So this girl dying, white racist killing another white person,
and if that's what it takes, that might be what it takes to get black people justice. I don't know.
Well, and I'm happy to see white people on the front lines because it's always us. So I was very delighted to see that there were a lot of white socialists and I think some anarchists, whatever, out there on the front lines. But what I want to say about the KKK, I don't think anytime I see fire. Anytime I see fire, I think of burning crosses. So I think I'm not gonna say that they did not mean to evoke that symbolism. And I think that if you look back at 1919 and the new Negro who came back from the war, I think we did stand up. There have been several instances. I mean, there are several books I can recommend you read. What even the one I was just talking about in terms of a black communist and the free. There's a part in this where black people actually pull up behind. There are these white racists who, and I think I've mentioned this before, who run behind, who run down the street, and they try to shoot at black people, and that's what they do. They're policemen and other people, and these black people actually got in the car, and when they heard the car, they pulled behind them and shot them down with a machine gun. I'm telling you that there are many instances of this happening. It's not the case that we haven't stood up for ourselves. We have.
Yes.
It's just that we've been outnumbered.
Also, Fred Hampton should have a park.
Yeah, Fred Hampton should have a park too. Got gunned down in his own bed with his pregnant fiance.
Yeah, he should give that man a park.
Yeah. So.
And none of his people should be starving.
Yeah, none of the people should need food.
Because he had kids, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so none of his. Nope.
So let's keep it moving on.
All right.
None. Not one. Starving for what?
Hello.
How you doing? Where you calling
I'm
from?
doing well. How y'all feeling?
Pretty good.
My name is Dorset Price. I'm from Houston, Texas. I called in late. I was trying to get in. I was busy or whatnot. And yeah, man, I love you guys. And I'm a little off topic, but I already had questions and statements and whatnot ready for you all. Like I said, my name is Dorset Price. I'm out of Houston, Texas. I have a YouTube channel going right now. D-Stop stands for Descendants of Slaves and the Oppressed Political Party. I know a lot of people think we aren't ready for that right now, but I think we are. I'm really excited. I just want to say thank you all, man. Brother Frimpong, Army, Sister Carnell, man, you guys are so powerful. Like, I'm realizing that I wasn't taught. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for me to talk about this stuff a lot sometimes. I was raised Jehovah's Witness. I was raised, my father's a Muslim Christian. I don't even know if that makes sense. He's a Muslim Christian. My mother's Jehovah's Witness. And I was taught that I could just work hard. I know I'm not the only one. I know this for a fact. I could just work hard, go to school, learn things, and I can make it, you know?
End up in debt.
That doesn't line up,
no,
right, for a lot of people. What do we need to do to start to get into politics? Because I'm saying that's a key that I was taught that it didn't matter by the church. Just go pray, have faith, and whatnot. You know, I don't know how you got into politics, but a lot of people I'm encountering, we don't even know where City Hall is. You know what I'm saying? We don't own anything. We don't even know our tax brackets. When I'm talking to people saying, let's go to City Hall, I mean, we aren't taking children to City Hall on field trips. We aren't taking family journeys to City Hall, or I try to watch C-SPAN. It bores you to death. So because see, I have some videos. I want y'all to check them out because I can't get into it now because this won't be my first call. I mean, my last call is my first call. It won't be my last. But where?
Oops. Oops. No.
You fine? Just laughing. I'm always in whoops.
No. Well, I'm sure he's got a mixtape too. No. It's a good question. What do you like? I tell people, if you want to know who your enemies are, go find out where your local Democratic Party meeting is and figure out what they're not talking about. And then that'll get you mad. Because it's free. It's free. Doesn't cost anything. Every county has a local Democratic Party. Show up at the meeting and see what they're not talking about. And if they're not talking about getting money into black people's politics, raise hell and then start from there.
You can do that. You're not being violent. You can do that. I mean, I'm giving information. I was at a community meeting tonight. And, just listening and talking. You got to stop showing up for your local stuff. You got to start showing up for your local stuff. And you don't have to get involved and engaged immediately. You can spend the first part of it talking to people, getting to know the players and stuff like that. But you have to start showing up at your local stuff. Start locally. Don't try to start nationally and doing stuff for these national broad groups. You don't know anybody and they're not in your community and you don't see them at the restaurants or whatever. Start locally and start having the conversations locally and then move on from there. But you got to start knowing who is who's the state reps, who's the people, who's controlling the conversation. And like I would say, show up at your local Democratic Party and see what they're talking about. Hell, if you feel frisky, show up at your local Republican Party and have a conversation.
They can't kick you out.
No.
That's one thing about being a citizen. That's a good thing about being a
Leave
citizen.
Leave me alone. Get your hands off me.
I'm a citizen speaking my mind.
I've done nothing to you. Nothing.
And it's actually a good place to practice telling white women what's up. Because you need practice. Because in that space...
You need practice to wield power. Because we never had power. So you need practice to understand how to wield power and speak boldly.
In that space, to other people. You're a citizen and they're a citizen. And like...
You have no additional claim that I have. That I don't have. Miss Clairol. All right?
Yes. I know about the animals, but we're going to talk about black people now. I'm talking about
listen. Black people starving and you talking about the tuna fish. The tuna that's about to be extinct. Or the spotted owl. Listen, I'm a spotted owl. Want me dressed up like a spotted owl when I come in here next time? Pay attention. Hello? Hey. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey. I'm sorry, I'm breaking up here. What you say?
What's your name and where you calling from?
My name is Miss Mary and I'm calling from Connecticut.
Okay.
When I was reading the papers today, they said we had a bunch of those neo-Nazis, those hate groups up here. But what can we do about them? I mean, not just the groups, but how can we go into City Hall and make sure that our voices are heard? I mean, because each time we go in there, cause they had something in the Norwalk City Hall, a painting of something that everybody said was racist, and it hurt people's feelings. And I'm saying, well, you don't worry about the painting, or worry about what they're allowing to happen. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Open your mouth about that.
Yeah.
And so with all of these, hood people coming out, I don't want to call them hood people, KKK and all of that. Like Millie Fuller said, we're not on code, but they are. They had all the flags that were representing them, and they changed them up a bit, but it all means hate. And those are the people that took and destroyed everything their ancestors destroyed, and everything that we had as black people. And it's troubling to me. So I do want to make a move. I want to go and see can the people at least start here at town hall, see if they can do something. about
Yeah.
what we're facing here.
Yeah, I think you should. I think that's a good thing. I think you should. There's no why or how about it. It kind of depends on who you are, where you are, the community that you are. But you can always show up. That's what you pay taxes for.
Right.
Like, you don't need these people who these racists who show up. They don't show up. They show up with hay in their hair. Listen, let me tell you, they don't care how they look. They don't care how they smell. They gonna show up. That's what we gotta do. We gotta stop being like, well, how do I do it? No, you just do it to do it.
Look,
and you will learn as you go.
Right. I've been thinking for a while that we need to get in the curriculum intervention game. This is how the right wins. This is how the right wins. It doesn't matter how much creation makes sense. They want to put it in the school books. It doesn't matter how much it's just debunked. No, put it in school books. So we need, black people, we need to fight that fight. We need to put our history in the books. No, we're going to talk about the KKK. We're going to talk about Reconstruction. We're going to talk about black terrorism. We're going to do it from our perspective, and we're going to put that in the school books. That's what we should be advocating for. So if you have nothing else you want to advocate for, go to your town hall meeting and say, we're going to talk about these school books.
Yep.
And I need some black stuff in there.
I need some real history.
No, real history.
Real history includes black radical tradition. It includes self-defense. It includes how much we got robbed and raped, how much they stole. I need all of that. If you don't have anything else to fight for, I need to change the curriculum. Well, that's partly how we get on these races, because they don't know anything except for what they've been told. And nothing that happened in terms of black life is in the history books. It's just not there. Martin Luther King and Frederick Douglass.
We got black people who
2% of black American life and black American history, African American history.
We got more people who know more about the Holocaust than they do about like Reconstruction.
Boom.
That's a problem.
More about the Holocaust than Reconstruction.
That's a problem.
And that didn't happen here, in case you don't know.
That's a problem.
Doesn't even happen in this country. And they know more about that than what happened here.
Right. And the legacy, we need to do a show just on the legacy of terrorism, because I do think that the KKK won.
I think so too.
I
think they're still winning.
Because the idea was to capture the black political imagination, to get us scared to ask for stuff.
Yep. And we are.
And we're scared to ask for stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think they won too. I think they just can't murder us anymore, but they won in terms of the political fight. So, it is what it is. You can be mad. I don't care.
You're on.
Hey, caller.
This is Kizzy from Detroit.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm just joking. This ain't Kizzy.
Who is it?
I was calling to address what you were saying about Obama. I first got interested in you because of the things you said about Obama, and I was like, well, why is she being so mean? And I've always been open-minded, and I begin to listen to you, and I begin to understand. And what I really came to terms with is that I felt that Obama wasn't going to do nothing for me anyway. That was my first thoughts. But as I listen to you, I begin to understand that I should expect for my politicians to do something for me. And I just want to thank you for that, because I think a lot of black people wasn't saying it, but that's how we felt. Yeah. We just felt like we had a black person, and we knew what nothing going to happen for us. But we got to start realizing that something is supposed to happen for us. Yeah. And that's what you're giving us.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate
and that's
that.
All I had to tell
no, I appreciate that. But no, we're citizens of this country. We're full citizens. What do you mean? Like, I understand exactly what you're saying, though, because I had a lot of people say, well, Obama ain't going to never do nothing for me. Well, why is he there? If he ain't going to never do nothing for you, why celebrate him being there? Why did you even vote for him if he's not going to do nothing for you? What's the point? Like, what's the point of even being alive in America if everybody ain't going to never do nothing for me? And you ain't gonna never fight for nobody to do nothing for you, then what's the point?
Yeah, look, we can't be the only people who are happy with a picture. Like, everybody else is asking for policy, and all we wanted from our president was a family photo?
It's such a beautiful family, Iron.
I don't care. I'd rather have those people in Detroit have houses.
Yeah, and clean water.
And clean water. So if you can't do that, you can take the picture.
Yeah. Thank you, Carl. I appreciate it. I appreciate you calling in. You're right. You're right. You're right. That's exactly what we did. Well, he can't do nothing. Well, then just give me a white man. Shit. He can't do nothing. If he can't do nothing, I don't need him. Stop calling yourself the first black president. Just go somewhere and sit down. Go teach at a college. I don't care.
If he can't do nothing, then why is everyone so scared of Trump? Because it turns out the presidents have power.
It turns out you can do stuff as a president.
Yeah.
Even with your agencies. Ask Latinos. They get sent home. Self-deportation.
You on? Hello? Hello?
Oh, what's going on, Breaking Brown family?
How you doing?
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is me, Duncan, come from Columbia again.
Okay.
I just wanted to add a quick thing when Antonio said about like the white slaves. Like a lot of people leave out of that they were given freedom dues when their indentured servitude was over. So whenever you come across that, you're like, well, there were white slaves, there were Irish slaves too. Like always bring up, well, if you're going to equivocate white indentured servitude with African chattel slavery, then where are our freedom dues?
Oh.
But the main question the main question I want to ask you guys, like, given the socioeconomic condition, the collective socioeconomic condition of Black America, what should be our economic game plan? Like, I know you guys talk a lot about, our political game plan, but given our collective socioeconomic condition, like, I know you guys criticize, like, certain pro-Black memes, like the Black buying power, like $1 trillion Black buying power, and, like, you critiqued, like, people like Dr. Boyce Watkins and all that, but like, should our economic game plan be more like, should we become like free market capitalism? Should we lean more towards like Marxist-Leninism? Should we be more like libertarian socialist or like communalistic? Because I know you talk a lot about how like Black people need to be more collectivistic, or should we like lean more towards like more the progressive, like social democracies and more like a mixed economy? Like, what are your thoughts on?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Listen, there's a difference between where my heart is and where my realism is. Okay, my heart would be something more collective. It would actually be something more socialistic, more towards socialism. If that's what my heart is. But like, I want to get my stuff first.
Right.
So like, here's the problem. You're asking me to be a socialist where capitalists have eaten off me for hundreds of years. Like, you need to give me a chance to be on top for a while, and then I'm going to go do that thing right there. So if you want to ask me right now, what should we be moving towards? I just don't see right now how this country is going to become. I mean, we just elected a super capitalist. I don't see how we go from super capitalism to socialism. That's just the realist in me speaking. And so with that being said, I want to say, how come we don't get contracts?
Yeah.
How come we don't get small business loans? Okay, we're a capitalist country. How come we don't? Obama only gave us like 1% of small business loans from the SBA. How come? How come it is not? You have people you have other communities. You have white people who are making billions, multi-millions off of jets and stuff like that, like being contractors. Like I said before, we could have Black people who are just contractors to cut hair at the military when people get inducted in. There are a lot of ways you could give us contracts, and you could open the door to Black entrepreneurship. And that's kind of where I am right now, because I don't see that moving anytime soon. It's not about my utopian worldview, and it's also about, I kind of want what my people didn't get. So I kind of want to get that before I say let's be equal. Before let's be equal, let me be a little bit up here first, because that's what my people built for me to be up here. Okay, and then after we do that for a while, for some hundreds of years, then you can talk to me about like being regular. I just don't want to be regular right now, because I just don't think it's fair. But that's not where, in terms of where my heart is, I don't think like, even in terms, I don't talk a lot about the environment or whatever, but it just doesn't seem, it just doesn't, the direction that we're headed right now doesn't seem sustainable. The planet is like polar bears or skinny. I mean, I just don't see like this is. I just don't see how any of this is sustainable. Like, you're just making a bunch of plastic widgets, and then you make it to break so I can get another plastic widget, and then you want me to buy a bunch of clothes because that's fashion, and so you want to convince me to buy a bunch of stuff that I don't need. It's just like, honestly, like, the world right now, just for me, just seems kind of ridiculous. So, I mean, you know, I can't even tell people what to do. I just accept the fact for right now that this place is capitalist, and I just want my piece of the pie. I want my contracts. I want my people to get business loans. I want affirmative action to open up the doors to good jobs. That's what I see. And I think if we look at it, those good jobs that other people have been made possible in large part by government. You look at subsidies to big agriculture and all that stuff. All these big businesses get subsidies. My thing is, why don't black businesses get subsidies? Like, that's something that should happen. That's something that should have happened for us a long time ago. Because you have to open that door, because the people with all the money are white and they got the doors nailed shut. And so government needs to be in there to open up the doors for us. So, you know, that's just kind of where I am right now. You got anything to add, Aaron?
No, I think that was a good job.
Okay.
I think that was a good job. Yeah, anything, well, okay, I said, well, anything that gets black businesses contracts, anything that's a pipeline to get black people into management hiring positions in big employers, hospitals, schools, AFLAC. And then thirdly, anything that like goes to where black people are at in low wage work and raises those wages. So like if we could unionize places, what things that black people do, that'd be good, and raise those wages. So yeah, those are my 3 prongs. Black people get contracts. Black employees get a bump at whatever they're doing, like those industries that we find. Because Antonio called in and he said, like in LA, black people only do 13 things. Pretty much that's what he said. We have 13 different types of jobs.
And you do 13 things because the capitalists won't let, the white capitalists won't let you into those other doors. Right. And so the government needs to be there to be like, no, you can't do that. You have to let them in.
We can do more things.
And so in terms of business and entrepreneurship, that's what I see. Like, you have to have them be like, you can't be racist. You can't do that. You have to give them capital. You have to open the door for them. You have to do that. And so that's the role of government. It just never happened for us. So we were like, government ain't gonna do that. They did it for a lot of people, just do it for us.
They were giving away land. Just not for us. You're on. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
What's your name and where you calling from?
Hey, my name is Greg, and I'm calling from Forest City, Arkansas.
Hey.
How you doing? Thank you for accepting my phone call. I just want to be short and sweet. I like listening to your show. I enjoy your YouTube videos. I think your content is right on point. I served 20 years in the Marine Corps and retired because I was taught at a young age that you need to do something for yourself and then for the community. Charity starts at home. So keep up the good work and keep hitting them hard.
Thank you. I appreciate that, caller. We're going to try. We're going to try. As long as it's breath in our body. Like the old people say, we're going to keep trying to hit them hard. So I appreciate that, caller. Arkansas. Ooh, Arkansas. I've been to Arkansas one time. I've been to Arkansas one time in my life. One time. I was working for a congressman from Arkansas. I went there one time. That's the only time I've been there. Really good food. It was delicious.
Tyson's Chickens.
Is that what was there?
Yeah.
I was eating bad stuff at that time, so I had a long chili dog with homemade French fries in this little place with black workers, and it was like wood floors. It was very odd, but it was delicious.
I'm sure Clinton's been there.
Actually, they told me he had very much.
You go. They all know Bill. All right, you're on.
Hey, caller.
Caller, come on now.
I'm like, come on now.
All right, you're done.
I was like, talk.
All right, you're on. Yes.
Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Trayvon, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. I'm quite well. I have to talk about one issue that's going on right now. As you well know, they removed the Confederate monuments from different areas all across Maryland, right? Overnight. So they did it like no white supremacists is going to make it. They nipped it in the bud for next weekend. So while that's happening,
I can't hear good.
In Baltimore. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Okay, I can hear you a little bit better now. Okay.
So Confederate statues disappeared overnight all across Maryland.
Okay.
While that's happening in Baltimore,
Okay.
yesterday they passed legislation on the City Council of Baltimore for a mandatory 1-year sentence for illegal gun charges. Now, as you well know, the Baltimore police are just riddled right now with open cases of planting evidence. And they did this. They did this in the cover of Night, also leading up with the news media posting all over social media and on local channels about the monument controversy. It kept showing it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Like, now they're cracking
Thanks,
down.
caller. I appreciate it.
So now a cop can plant a gun on anybody and take you away
But
from
that was
you.
a video. I don't remember what
that's a
happened with the
problem.
video of a cop like allegedly planting a gun in Baltimore. But I don't remember what happened with the video. But like, yeah,
That's what they do.
yeah.
When David Chappelle was joking about like sprinkling a little bit of crack on
Yeah,
people.
sprinkle a little bit of crack. I remember that. Just sprinkle a little crack on people.
Because
That's
he
what-
wasn't.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like, that's the best comedy is true comedy. That's true. And I think you have to. I think, you know, and it's hard because of how you go through. But you have to show up and you have to show out and you have to go to these meetings. But you're not allowed to do it. Your plight, your destiny is too tough. Like, you in too tough a predicament. Trump could cut Medicaid tomorrow, and everybody you know on Section 8, everybody you know on food stamps could be off and homeless. That's the kind of situation we in right now. I don't know what kind of comfort a lot of y'all believe that we're in, but this is a delusion. That's not the way. That's not what we're living right now. You don't get the luxury of just saying, I'm not going to be political. Like, that's failure. So,
One more?
yeah, let's take one more.
Hello?
Oh. Yes.
Hello?
Yes. Say yes, Yvette.
Hey, how you doing? Where you calling from? What's your
I'm
name?
doing fine. How are you?
Pretty good.
I'm speaking to Yvette?
Yes, absolutely. One and only.
Okay, I'm calling recently about you discussed theft of property?
Who?
Theft of property.
Oh, yes, theft of property. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm talking about, my concern is about pushing the black people into public housing.
Mm.
That happened. Yeah. Yeah, speak on it.
Yeah, and but something people are not discussing is rumors, because the rumors of the Trump administration is that they're going to take people off of Section 8.
Yeah, I don't think that's a rumor.
Yeah, but nobody's discussing. That's what I'm just calling about. No one is discussing that at all.
Well, that was part of the in terms of the HUD and Department of Housing, in terms of, that was a balloon that was floated a while ago. I don't remember what month it was, probably like a month and a half ago, where they basically said, like, one of the programs, there were a lot of HUD programs that were going to get cut, and Section 8 housing was one of them. And so I think when that comes to pass, you're going to see a lot of that. Like, he ain't playing about cutting all these things. He ain't playing about cutting Medicaid. And he's already said he's going to cut a lot of these HUD programs. So he says he's going to cut HUD by such a large percentage. I can't remember what the percentage is, maybe 25 or something. I can't remember. But it's huge. It's enormous. You're right.
And it's all us.
Yes, all
Right.
us.
Only thing I'm just saying is black people need to get prepared. Be proactive instead of reactive and get evictions or whatever. Just be prepared.
Yeah, but a lot of us don't
Especially
even...
anyone living in Section 8.
You're right, but a lot of us don't even know what's coming down the pike. A lot of people who are going to be prepared, they're not watching Breaking Brown. They're not reading online news. They're not looking at charts. They're just living their lives like their lives are stable. And that's the one thing I keep trying to say in terms of the African American community. The one thing you need to understand is that your life, I don't care who you are, I don't care what life you live, your life is not stable. I was reading an article the day before yesterday or something about Oprah being depressed. About her when Beloved didn't do well at the box office, because you know what, that's going to affect you. Your life is not stable. I don't care who you are. If you are African American in this country, your money is held on 9 times out of 10 by somebody else. Even if you are a person who sells stuff to black people, your money is determined by what happens to those black people who buy your products. And that's the real deal. Ain't no other way than that. So I want to thank you for calling in, caller. I want to thank everybody who called in tonight. Everybody, please share this in your groups. Share this in your YouTube. If for some reason, sometimes what it does is it gives you the wrong title. I don't know why YouTube does that, but you have to just Google Facebook debugging, and put it in a debugging thing, and it'll give you the right title. I don't know why it does that. It's done that to me too. I have to put in the little debugger, put in the Facebook debugger, so it has the right title for the right day. Huh?
Twitter too.
Yeah, Twitter too. So you have to debug it sometimes. That's YouTube is doing what it does. I have no idea. So please share this. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. You know, share it to your groups. You know, you can go to breakingbrown.com to donate once a month or one time. DonateBrown.com to donate. And if you get the newsletter, please add editor at breakingbrown.com to the newsletter. To your email contact list so that we don't have to worry about it getting caught up in your promotions folder. I'd appreciate that. So everybody, you know, I appreciate everything tonight. Iremy and I we will see you no later than Monday. You know, be easy. Like, don't let this stuff stress you out. People are like, I'm stressed out. Don't let it stress you out.
No, nothing's changed.
That's not the way to be. That's not the way to react to what's happening. It ain't no need to be stressed out. Ain't no need to be depressed. Like the struggle's only worthless if you don't do nothing with it. And that's what we are. And that's all good.
Yeah, and if anyone puts a mic in your face, don't go crying about George Washington.
Yeah,
ask for your people's
George Washington would have put you in a chain and made you hold some stuff. You don't need to be crying about George Washington because he wasn't crying about you. You understand? Please. So I will see you all, you know, next week. Thank you for supporting. I appreciate it. And we're gonna still have a lot to talk about. Ain't that right, Iron?